We know the men taken by RSF. The RSF soldiers took them out and lined them up, and they shot them in front of us. They lined them up and shot them in the street and left them.
Horror in Sudan. Following 500 days under siege, people fleeing the city of Fasher in Darfur say the paramilitary rapid support forces have unleashed a wave of unspeakable violence. The Sudanese government says the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, have killed at least 2,000 people in Fasher since capturing the city on October 26th. Aid agencies report satellite images and online videos reveal evidence of RSF soldiers carrying out extrajudicial killings in what they say amounts to ethnic cleansing. Its leader, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti, admits that there have been violations and has promised an investigation. Months of fighting left more than 250,000 people trapped in Fasher, the capital of northern Darfur in western Sudan. The RSF were accused of targeting Masalit people and other non-Arab communities during the 18-month-long siege. Now, satellite images collected by Yale's Humanitarian Research Lab on October 27th appear to show large blood stains on the ground, which is evidence of mass killings in Fasher. Yale researchers describe it as a systematic and intentional process of ethnic cleansing of the Fur, Zagawa, and Berti communities through forced displacement and summary execution. The International Organization for Migration says more than 26,000 people have fled Fasher with no food, shelter, or medicine. Some say they've been attacked as they trek more than 60 kilometers to Tawila town, which already hosts 800,000 internally displaced people.
Our new arrivals report of widespread ethnically and politically motivated killing, indiscriminate violence affecting in particularly the most vulnerable. We have accounts of people with disabilities who were executed, who were killed as they were unable to flee. But we also hear people that are trying to leave the city and manage to get out of the city, but on the way they're caught up and they are also being shot. For unknown reasons.
Now, residents fleeing the fighting blame RSF soldiers for the attacks. The paramilitary group was formed in 2013. It has roots in the Janjaweed militia that was accused of genocide and ethnic cleansing against the non-Arab population in the early 2000s. It formed a rival government in July this year, and with the capture of Fasher, it now controls all the Darfur region, which could split the country. So let's hear more from Fasher Idris. He's a Sudan affairs analyst and a human rights advocate. He joins me from Cardiff in the UK. Idris, thank you so much for making the time. Just what does the capture of Fasher mean for the residents of the city and those that are trying to flee?
Well, as we've seen for the past 4 days, with videos circulating on the internet and even with satellite imagery, what this means, and with the proven track record of the Rapid Support Forces previously in different cities around Sudan, essentially we see indiscriminate killings and an onslaught on civilians based on ethnic dimensions or political bias that the Rapid Support Forces sees themselves as fit to label and categorize innocent civilians, meaning anyone that they deem not like them, with the same mentality or of the same skin color, of the same tribal background. Essentially, they seek to ethnically cleanse. And that is what we've been seeing in Fasher, with the satellite images proving the point that you see pools of blood from space. And the size of these pools of blood are as wide as the houses in Africa, which are pretty wide. And this goes to show that this modus operandi of the Rapid Support Forces is nothing new. In fact, it's been going on for the past 20 years, exacerbated even more since the war in 2023. And though they may come with this message of democracy or so-called civilian leadership, no one in Sudan, and those within the global community believe those words after seeing the massacres that have been taking place. And furthermore, they've been using videos, taking and recording themselves as trophies. In one report, in Saudi hospital, it's been noted that over 400 people have been killed within the hospital. Though initial reports from the joint forces statement, the ones who were defending al-Fasher against the rapid support forces, they said that there were over 2,000 dead. However, it is most likely this is a gross underreported number, as there are much, much more.
Right.
Now, Al-Fasher was a city just recently with 250,000 people. Before the war, it was 1.2 million people, and they've been through a famine and a siege for 18 months. The ones that have managed to escape to a nearby locality named Tawila, only 5,000 have been reached. 5,000 civilians have only reached there, and 2,000 dead. So that means there's about 243,000 people
Right.
still unaccounted for within the city of Al-Fasher, and due to the communications, it's very difficult to understand the full and clear picture.
Right, Idris. The International Organization for Migration says 26,000 people fled to Tawila. But really, the numbers, if we had 250,000 people, that still means we have more than 200,000 stuck in Al-Fasher. But you know, Idris, this is not the first time we're having this conversation on the Sudan war. I mean, there was already an existing humanitarian crisis before the fall of Al-Fasher. Do you see this changing?
If this change comes with the governance of the Rapid Support Forces and their backers, the TASIS government, which is a split-off government formed by the Rapid Support Forces leaders and funded as well by the United Arab Emirates. And as we've seen previously in different cities in Sudan, that they've captured and held for a while. Of course. And furthermore, on top, they haven't exactly been the best of governors within this whatever areas they capture. There's a difference between military strategy and state building and governance, and clearly the Rapid Support Forces and their actions do not reflect anything that resembles state building capacity. And so to believe that the situation would get better within that area, it's a far cry. They have been killing based on ethnic cleansings. They have taken Al-Fasher. Does that mean they're going to stop ethnic cleansings, or they're going to continue more within the region until they completely wipe out non-Arab communities within the region? That seems highly unlikely. And with the statements made by General Daglo Hemeti of the Rapid Support Forces, who insists that the Rapid Support Forces will not stop the war, and nor will they want to partition Sudan. Why? Because they believe that they will go and attack and make clear threats to attack Khartoum and Port Sudan, indicating the RSF's intentions to go into the capital, return into the capital, and go further east to take control of the whole nation. And because of this, it's leading to calls for mobilization by popular resistance groups within Sudan to essentially for citizens to take up arms against the incoming invasion, the threat of an incoming invasion by the Rapid Support Forces. If you think this situation is bad, we're very much on the cusp to a full-blown ethnic war.
If I could interject, so you're saying that we're not looking at a second split of Sudan like we saw in 2011 with South Sudan. You're saying that they're pretty much going for the entire control of Sudan. Is that what you're saying? We're not looking at a second split?
That's what Hemeti is saying, essentially, that he does not wish to split Sudan and that he wishes to essentially take control of the whole nation. And that threat alone is what's escalating the dangers within Sudan into unprecedented levels. The split as well scenario that has been widely circulated, and I've talked about it many times, is also another problem, as it will give the Rapid Support Forces the means to be able to acquire more supplies and weapons for them to launch further invasions and attacks against the Sudanese state, people and government. Though there are historical grievances towards that, that does not mean that the lives of innocent Sudanese people should be involved and therefore be taken into account by the Rapid Support Forces, who have proven to indiscriminately kill based on ethnic dimensions, and nonetheless. Though people will then say, well, what's the point of the RSF killing innocent civilians? Who are they going to rule over? Who are they going to govern? Who are they going to tax? And then that's when the different scenarios of ethnic displacement come in, as groups and tribes and ethnicities not usually found within Sudan would be moving in to take in those areas and regions. And so we have two scenarios here. Either A, the Rapid Support Forces seeks to split the country and partition it, essentially creating the third new Sudan, essentially from the first Sudan, the legacy Sudan. The second one, South Sudan, split in 2011 after 2 civil wars that lasted altogether 40 years. And now this one, where after a war for an absolutely brutal war with senseless killings after 2.5 years, seeks to split again. Now, one begs the question, does that mean committing mass genocide, ethnic cleansings, and indiscriminate killings are prerequisites to creating a state? And if that is the case, then surely this must be a green light to many militia groups across Africa that they too can destroy nations. They can build up their own. And if the African Union or the international community does not act, essentially it's given a green light for militias around the world to have that capacity to go around killing whoever, just so in the name of sovereignty.
Idris, as we wind up,
having their own sovereignty.
As we wind up in less than a minute, let's talk again more about the people, because what's left of them? Who's looking out for them? Who will hold the RSF accountable? Dagalo is calling on them to actually go back to Fasher. Do they go back to Fasher and get killed there? Who's looking out for the people? As we wind up, please.
Have we seen this previously before in any other place where the Rapid Support Forces have come out in humanitarian support and aid? No, we have not. The people are relying on the community kitchens, on donations, nothing from the international community. They can't do as much because they don't have access into these areas. And they keep on pleading and releasing empty statements, I would say, towards the belligerents in the region to essentially follow international humanitarian law. But the reality of the matter is that those within the ground are left to fend for themselves or run away. And it seems that hope is not there. But we have to continue supporting the living, supporting those who have been through the most brutalist of hells. And that is the protection of the sanctity of life. And whether the international community, global community, international NGOs follow that, they will not do so unless the people around the world speak up and hold their governments accountable for funding the belligerents and the external backers of this war, the UAE and their allies, so we can see an end to this horrific war and devastation.
Absolutely. And of course, we have seen both sides, the parties in war and the said backers. We have heard from them, those that have been, again, constantly denying backing the RSF. Baril Bashir, Idris, thank you so much for making the time and for your contribution. The Sudan Affairs Analyst and Human Rights Advocate. Thank you.
Still to come here on Africa Matters.
Workforce shortages and high costs of services prevent many people from accessing quality health care in sub-Saharan Africa. I am Darren Alan Cheyune in northwestern Uganda, where Turkish volunteer doctors are making a difference in communities by providing free medical services.
To Kenya now, where the Electoral Commission had aimed to register more than 6 million new voters ahead of the 2027 general election. But the nationwide registration has closed with a disappointing turnout, especially among young people. And Mashere has more from the capital, Nairobi.
Despite weeks of outreach, few new voters have signed up. especially the young people the government was hoping to reach. Jack Otieno is part of a small minority.
This is my first day. I feel good going to vote. You know, some things you shouldn't have to be punished to do. You should do them willingly. When you go to vote, it feels good because you feel like a true Kenyan.
Others in one of Nairobi's largest constituency, Kibera, are rethinking their choices from past elections.
I see that we young people understand each other, what we want. These old guys want to keep saying we should let the elders lead, but no, they can't bring us progress.
Official data shows that Kenya's youth make up nearly 75% of the population, but few are turning up to register, a pattern that has persisted for years. Before the last election in 2022, the IEBC targeted 6 million new voters, but only 2.5 million voters registered, which is about 40% of its goal. The voter registration drive ahead of the 2027 election has done even worse. The Kenya's Electoral Commission had hoped to register 6.3 million new voters ahead of the 2027 general election. But just over 20,000 people registered vote for the first time, even though there are more than 8 million eligible young voters who are between 18 to 24 years old. Some leaders believe the problem isn't apathy, it's access.
These young people, they don't want someone who is pushing them. So when they see politicians saying, go and take voter's card, they are like, now, this is your job. You are telling us to go to take. We'll take it at our pace. So it's not when you tell us to take. It is when we want.
Analysts say the low turnout reflects a deeper disconnection between Kenya's youth and the country's political system.
So somebody reckons, why should I spend my money going to register? So they may be waiting for the mass voter registration, which is taken to the people. That's one reason. But the main reason is nothing has changed. We are approaching new challenges using new strategies. We are not saying anything to make the young people feel like there's need for voting.
Observers say the lack of youth participation could have long-term implications, especially for a nation where young people are in the majority. But their absence at registration centers means that they risk being left out of the ballot box and unable to translate their vote to any meaningful political change. Anne Mashari, Africa Matters, Nairobi.
We head to northern Uganda next, where eye complications due to infections, trauma and river blindness are common. Access to healthcare in rural areas is a huge challenge, but volunteer doctors from Türkiye are helping to restore sight for hundreds of people in the Yumbe district. Darren Alan Cheyune reports from Yumbe town.
For 23 years, James Edema has taught thousands of children in northwestern Uganda. But for the past 6 years, the 53-year-old has been struggling. That's because he is suffering from cataracts.
The problem I have with my eyes is I look foggy, tears come out from my eyes, it itches a lot, I struggle to move at night. Even in my room, I can be touching the wall. Then when I struggle to treat the eyes, the drugs are very expensive. I cannot afford to buy them.
But now, James is receiving free eye care at this hospital thanks to Turkish volunteer doctors. A team of 30, supported by Share and Tika, are running a 15-day health camp with specialists performing diagnosis, treatment, and eye surgery. And a surgical procedure to treat cataracts, where eye lenses are replaced, takes a mere 30 minutes.
They're all experienced doctors. We're talking about 15, 20, 30 years experienced doctors. They're one of the best in their field, and they just want to give back to the world. They see this as a gift from God, that it's their duty to provide their skills to the world.
An eye surgery like this would normally cost a patient at least $150. But James expects to improve his sight and return home to plan for his teaching lessons in the evenings, all without paying a cent. Yumbe's Regional Referral Hospital serves over 2 million people from 5 districts. With one eye specialist, this facility receives at least 30 patients daily, but it's limited to performing 10 eye surgeries a week.
In this course of 1 to 2 weeks, we expect to perform about 450 cases. So this will reduce the workload that the ophthalmologist has and also help with focus on the other conditions that are also affecting the region, like refractive errors, trachoma, and glaucoma.
The Turkish volunteer doctors are not only extending pediatric and general health support, but they are also sharing expertise with local health workers while helping everyone so they can see a brighter future. Darren Alan Cheyune, Africa Matters, Yumbe, northwestern Uganda.
Well, in Nigeria, cheesemakers are tapping into the centuries-old tradition instead. The cheese, commonly known as wara, is a staple in daily meals, but modern dairy products are threatening its survival. Brenda Zederadido has more.
Yabo Ahmed has been producing cheese for the past 35 years, using a traditional method that's been passed down from generations in Nigeria. She uses just 2 ingredients: cow's milk sourced from local breeders and Sodom apple plant that is a natural coagulant.
We pour the milk into the pot, then we will squeeze the Sodom apple stem into it, and after 30 minutes, we then scoop the curd out. This is what I am doing now.
She then puts it in these raffia buckets to shape the curds into blocks. Iyabo says the freshness of the milk is what makes the cheese popular.
Everyone eats it. People travel with this cheese. People who want to travel with it are depositing money already. Travelers are my major buyers. They send money and I send cheese.
Iyabo also makes other dairy products like yogurt and this traditional drink made from fermented milk known as fura danununu. Vendors in Kwara State say demand for the cheese is steady.
I've been into business for the past 20 to 25 years of age now. We then up to 200 or 500,000.
Nigerians have devised new ways of incorporating the cheese product into their meals.
It's very important for us, especially where we see with bread, or we eat it with pap or other thing.
But in urban centers like Uyo, imported mozzarella is being used more in commercial kitchens.
The one I prefer to really use and the one that is rampantly used in my own locality is the mozzarella cheese. Of course, that is because of the preparation of pizza. We have a lot of pizza houses and huts around here. And then, of course, using it to prepare some meals.
But Iyabo hopes to keep the traditional method of making cheese and its taste alive with every single meal. Brenda Zederadido, Africa Matters.
And in Spain, young people are flocking to the cities in search of more lucrative work. This has opened the countryside to African migrants who are quietly transforming one of the most traditional Spanish professions. Christina Simic reports.
Tending sheep was once considered a dying job in rural Spain, but in Los Cortijos, shepherding is making a comeback, thanks to African migrants and asylum seekers like Osman Abdulmumin from Sudan.
Now it is good. Now I live in the village alone. Things are much easier, but I live alone. The village doesn't have any people, young people. It is missing people. That is the only problem. But I have time to study Spanish in my house, watch the television as well. I also play football.
From dawn to dusk, he looks after a flock of 400 sheep. Although the job is demanding, Abdulmumin says it has offered him stability in a foreign land. Abdulmumin earns $1,510 a month, which he has to share with his family back in Sudan.
There's a lot of work for shepherds here in Spain, but people don't like to work in the countryside. I just want to be working. That is the job I could get.
To keep their operations running, farmers have turned to migrants.
It's difficult to find people who work in the countryside. Most of the businesses that exist right now won't have successors because the children don't want to follow in their parents' footsteps. So we have to look for those people elsewhere, often outside the country. There are many people who come seeking opportunities to improve their situation.
The migrant workers are not only from Africa, but also Venezuela and Afghanistan. People arriving in Spain can attend a shepherd course where they learn traditional skills like herding and milking livestock.
And I'm doing training course about animals, cows, sheep, goats, and I will be very glad to work work in campo with animals.
The courses have been funded by the regional government since 2022. The majority of students are migrants. More than 50 graduates have been employed as shepherds and 15 work at slaughterhouses. Others work on olive and other fruit farms, giving these new arrivals the opportunity to turn a pastoral tradition into a chance at a better future in a foreign land. Christina Shimic, Africa Matters.
That's our show this week. Share your thoughts and suggestions about the stories you've seen on this episode and leave your comments on our Africa Matters YouTube page or on X. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from me, Grace Kuria Kanja.